From MTN News, you're watching Montana This Morning.
The state's mental hospital here in Warm Springs is dealing with an outbreak of COVID-19 cases. I'll tell you about it coming up.
So since the marijuana initiatives passed, making it legal here in the state of Montana, what does that mean if you have a criminal record involving it? I'm Annie Johnson, and I'll have the answer for you coming up.
Just ahead of 6:30 on this Wednesday, Chet Lehman, Holly Brantley, Matt. We're working on subliminal advertising just to see if we can keep you in your thoughts there for a little bit.
Stay with us.
I don't know if it's working or not. Again, just a reminder, today is Veterans Day. If you have not thanked a veteran, find one. Thank them.
Yes.
They're everywhere, and they're the reason that we're here. So
that's right.
Happy
Yes,
Veterans
sir.
Day to all of you. Again, thank you from all of us at Montana This Morning. Matt, weather for our traditional, we will have a Veterans Day ceremony up at the Sunset Hills. That will be going on at 11 o'clock.
A little chilly, and we may have some snow showers, but I don't think it's going to be terrible. We're not talking strong winds.
Good.
The roads should be fine.
Good.
But we are going to see some bands of snow trying to roll through the area from time to time. Visibility could drop as you go through the morning. Here's a look at one of the models. You can see that band of snow is pretty thin, but persistent as you go through the morning. The afternoon, it looks a little better. It looks like we may have some light snow falling up the valley into the morning. Temperature right now is sitting into the 20s for the afternoon. You can see some snow on the horizon in Butte as well as a bit of fog. We're going to break down what you can expect as we get closer to the weekend in just a few minutes.
Can you hear that little bit of his voice? Warming up into the 20s.
Right.
Yay!
We're
Great
up, we're
sales
down,
pitch.
we're all over the place.
Great sales
Back
pitch,
to
Matt.
optimism.
There he is.
Keeping it real, Matt
Optimistic
Elwell.
Matt, I love that.
Well, coming up first here, he just messed with your
I
head.
rattled with you, I'm
Right.
sorry.
Whitehall schools are open but struggling this morning.
Yeah, School Superintendent Hannah Niskins says 20 to 25 school staff members will be out for the rest of the week. Beginning next Monday, Whitehall schools will go to full-time remote learning until the Monday after Thanksgiving. That's November 30th. Though it is 15 days off in-person classes, it's only 8 days off of school because of the planned Thanksgiving recess. Those who are out right now include administrators, teachers, staff members, including kitchen and custodial workers. Superintendent says many of those who are out are in a 14-day quarantine under orders of County Health Department. Schools will remain open for on-site learning through the end of this week, with subs filling in for those who are missing. And that's so parents and teachers have time to prepare for remote learning again coming next week. Some sports practices and games have also been canceled.
Well, the Butte Silver Bow Health Department is announcing new restrictions in the wake of a spike of positive COVID-19 cases in that community. Butte is averaging about 84 positive cases per capita out of a population of 100,000, putting the city in the red zone for risk. As a result, it is ordering that businesses must limit capacity from 75% down to 50% capacity. Bars, casinos, and distilleries must now close at 10 p.m. as opposed to midnight. Any public events or activities involving 25 people or more must first be approved by the health department. Officials noted that these restrictions have the support of the Chief Executive, Council of Commissioners, and Sheriff's Office.
And we're asking out of the bottom of our hearts, this is not an order, but we're asking you to stay at home. If you have to go to work, we get it. If you have to get groceries, we get it. But we're asking this community in an advisory sort of way to please stay home.
We continue to get together in large groups. If we continue to believe that it won't affect me, if we continue to go about our day like this is not a big deal, it may very well affect you or somebody very, very close to you. But COVID-19 is not a cold. It can exhibit a very systemic reaction through the entire body, and people can have long-term effects from the illness. They can die suddenly from the illness, and it does not care whether you are young or old.
The health department will reassess the order on December 1st, and if numbers decline enough, the restrictions will be eased.
Well, the city of Bozeman encouraging us to avoid coming to municipal buildings in person when online options or phone options are available, including payments. City Manager Jeff Mihelich says, please make the choice to stay home or limit interactions in daily tasks for your health and for those of city employees.
The state's mental health hospital in Warm Springs is reporting an outbreak of positive COVID-19 cases. MTN's John Amy tells us it's among patients and some staff.
The Montana State Hospital here in Warm Springs is dealing with an outbreak of COVID-19 cases that has affected an entire wing, including staff members.
The COVID pandemic has been a very difficult thing for Montana State Hospital, both for the staff and for the patients.
The hospital reports active cases of COVID-19 include 6 staff members and 24 patients in one wing of the hospital. The 6 staff members are in quarantine. The hospital has 214 patients who have been involuntarily admitted.
It's a fragile population of individuals with acute and chronic mental illness, many of whom have additional other issues.
The hospital continues to take new patients, keeping them in a separate wing. Staff are tested weekly and equipped with protective gear to avoid exposure.
And, you never really, I think, relax because you're trying to just stay ahead of more infections. And so it's we can't let our guard down. We can't relax.
While state hospital officials say they're doing everything they can to control the virus, this has been a very difficult time for both patients and staff at the hospital.
And I know that they're tired, and I know their dedication to Montanans is very high, but this is an unanticipated stress in an already very difficult job, difficult technically and difficult emotionally.
Patients at the hospital are not required to be tested, though most volunteer to be tested. In Warm Springs, John Amy, MTN News.
Now, as John just said there, patients at the hospital are not required to be tested, but most did volunteer to be. Meantime, Governor-elect Greg Gianforte unveiled a 21-member task force yesterday that will help him respond to the surge of COVID-19 cases in the state. The task force includes healthcare experts, business leaders, school officials, and local tribal leaders. It also has the current head of Governor Bullock's coronavirus task force, Montana Adjutant General Matthew Quinn. Other members include Montana Chamber of Commerce President, owners of hotels and restaurants, and the U.S. Attorney for Montana. Also tapped with the Bozeman Health Board of Directors, Don Beeman, who is also a former VP of U.S. Commercial Operations for Merck's Vaccine Division. Butte Silverbow Public Health Officer Karen Sullivan, priest of St. Patrick and Immaculate Conception Church, and the chaplain at Montana Tech, Father Patrick Beretta. Big Sky Resort Area District Executive Daniel Bershewal, and the superintendent of Whitehall, who was a Montana Principal of the Year, Hannah Neeskens. Gianforte said the state is facing a health and economic crisis that Montanans should take seriously. He said his top priority will be to protect the most vulnerable Montanans while also safely and fully opening back up the state economy.
6:37 now. A week ago yesterday, Montana voters approved the initiatives legalizing the recreational use of marijuana.
MTN's Annie Johnson reports on what this means for people with criminal records involving cannabis.
Legalizing marijuana here in Montana also means decriminalizing it, which means if you have it on your record, you may be able to get it removed.
It allows for a person who has been convicted of a marijuana-related offense to either, one, seek expungement if the act that they were in trouble for is now legal, or two, seek resentencing based on the new law.
Recreational use of marijuana becomes legal on January 1st, 2021. And that process gives those with a criminal history the chance to start an expungement process.
Hire an attorney to help you file a petition to seek the expungement or the resentence in front of your sentencing court. And then the court will presume that you are eligible for that expungement unless the court determines that you are a danger to public safety or the county attorney objects.
Depending on that, the court can downgrade charges from felonies to misdemeanors to civil fractions or completely expunge the charges. And you may be wondering, how long can this process take? Are we talking days, months, or even years?
This depends a lot on how the courts want to hold their own procedure, and every court is different. Typically, in the cases in which we've sought expungement for misdemeanor offenses under a different section of the code, that typically takes a couple of months.
There are still stipulations, including the amount of cannabis you can have, federal laws, and employment drug policies.
You know, if you have more than 2 ounces of marijuana, you can still be charged with a crime.
There's still a lot of details left to be figured out, and a lot of that depends on this upcoming legislative session. Reporting in Bozeman, Annie Johnson, MTN News.
The recreational use of marijuana and the removal of that crime from your record only applies to people only over the age of 21.
As Holly mentioned, or as Annie mentioned, more to come on that one. The legislature is going to tackle how that's all going to be implemented.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting process to watch.
In January.
Yeah,
Crazy
which
times.
is not far away.
No, it's not.
No,
it's not.
Well, coming up here on Montana this morning, much more not far away, scientists in Washington have captured and killed hundreds of giant hornets. But the news may not be all good.
That kind of creeped you out.
Oh my goodness, what else they found is coming up.
But first, here's Tony DeCoppel with a look at what's coming up at 7 o'clock on CBS This Morning.
Good morning. Ahead on CBS This Morning, 70 days until Inauguration Day, and President Trump still refuses to concede the election to President-elect Joe Biden. We'll have the latest on the transition of power, or lack thereof, as both parties move forward with dueling plans. Plus, the CBS News investigation finds major concerns about how some service members with a serious injury are being treated. What a whistleblower is telling us about one VA hospital. And finally, we sit down with the co-founder of Team Rubicon, former Marine Jake Wood, how he found a way to allow veterans to continue their service back here at home. Happy Veterans Day. See you at 7.